All right, welcome everyone. Thanks for playing the Grand National Novice Pairs Heat. Hope you enjoyed it. I'm Pete Hollins, and today I'm actually joined by Mike Doecke, a fantastic player. He has represented the South Australian Open team multiple times. He's been the captain of the Australian junior team. All-round great guy. Represented Australian juniors back in his good old days. Welcome, Mike.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Pete. That's a very glowing introduction.
So today what we're going to do is just run through our thoughts on how we think we should be bidding these hands. So we'll get in and look at board number one. So Mike, how do you reckon board number one would be bid?
North did pass, which probably would be the majority choice if people aren't as crazy as us. Then the East hand has sort of a difficult choice of whether you choose to show this as an 18-19 balanced, or whether you upgrade it and open maybe two no trumps to show like a 20 to 21 or 22.
Yeah, so you might choose to upgrade this because some people want to count length points before they find a fit, which is, you might count one extra point for a 5-card suit or longer. So because of the 5-card suit, you could consider it. My guess is most people would open a heart with the intention of showing this as 18-19. I could go either way on this. The heart suit's not great, but I'm open to the two no trump opening, probably the way I would go. But I do think one heart's completely reasonable on this.
Yep, I agree.
Over that, South would pass and West would raise. How would you raise with the West hand?
Yeah, interesting one. I'd probably I'm not a big fan of Bergen raises myself. I prefer to just have the jump raise to 3 hearts, showing about 5 to 8 points. So I'd probably just bid that 3 hearts. But it does depend on what your methods are. If you do play Bergen, then this is a good hand to be able to show exactly the Bergen raise of like 6 to 9 or 7 to 9, however you play it.
Yep.
Bergen is a convention that is often taught to reasonably new players in Adelaide, where I'm from. I'm not sure about what the players in this tournament would know. Pete, is it likely that they'd be?
I think there'd be a wide mixture. Some people might just have the option go 1 heart, 2 hearts. Some people might raise to 3 hearts. This is really just partnership agreement. It's important to know how you support your partner's major. What do you go about doing there? And there's a wide variety of completely okay things. So however you do it, I'm sure that's okay. Just make sure you and your partnership know, how do you raise with weak hands? How do you raise with invitational hands? How does it actually change with more trumps? Bergen raises is just a way of showing 4-card support rather than just 3-card support for those that don't know.
Certainly this hand is a lot better than the similar hand with only 3-card support. The 4th trump is always huge. Really gives your side a great chance to make more tricks.
Yep. So a few sample options I'd say here happen is 1 heart, 2 hearts, 4 hearts, 1 heart, 3 hearts, 4 hearts, or some other sort of raise. I don't think with the 19 count you should get too excited and go investigating slam if partner's just showing a minimum raise.
One hand we're talking about on this board is the South hand. And you sort of glossed over it being an automatic pass over the 1 heart. I certainly agree. I wouldn't bid with the South hand, but I think a lot of people might be tempted to, because you've got like almost an opening hand strength and you've got 10 points. But there are a lot of negatives to bidding on this hand, which are that your suit isn't very good. You haven't got most of your points in your suit. Most of your points are in hearts, it turns out. But bidding opposite a passed hand is also pretty risky because the opponents know that you haven't got that many points and could double you potentially.
So my general approach for overcalling is I'm very aggressive at the 1 level, but if I have to overcall at the 2 level, I'm quite conservative. I either want a really good 5-card suit, a 6-card suit, or compensating high card points, and I don't think this hand fits into.
And certainly the other thing about this hand is it got very bad shape. Having a 5-32 is the worst overcalling shape to have a 5-card suit. So,
yep. All right. Well, we might move on to board number 2. An initial auction here might start off. I don't think North South will be doing too much bidding. You might find some north that bid on this hand, but I suspect east would open one diamond, south would pass, west would bid a heart. I'll work on the assumption north passes. You might find some people bid with this kind of hand shape. I would be open to bidding if you change the vulnerability. But bidding vulnerable with weak hands, I don't think is a great idea. But after that, I suspect east would just rebid one no trump, showing 12 to 14 balanced. What sort of approach would you have after that, Mike?
Yeah, I mean, I certainly think that you need some sort of an agreement after a one no trump rebid. There isn't really an easy way to bid the hands naturally because you've got lots of different ranges of hands. You know, partners got 11 to 14, give or take, with their rebid. And so you kind of know whether you're weak or invitational or strong. And so, yeah, you really need some kind of method to be able to tell a partner you're in one of those ranges and then help involve them in the choice of where you play.
Yeah, so you might be interested in playing 3 no trumps. You might be interested in playing in 4 hearts, but you don't know if you've got a heart fit. You might be interested in 5 diamonds. They're probably the 3 main spots you'd consider, but you need more information from partner before making that choice. And there's an array of conventions. Some people just do new minor forcing or simple check back or two-way check back are some of the options. But basically you want a bid that can say, partner, tell me a bit more about your hand. Do you have 3 card support for my suit? Do you have another 4 card major or something else that you can describe about your hand? And then you'd be able to find your heart fit after doing that. And you would be able to make, like, on the cards here, slam is very easy to make and it's a fantastic slam, but I can't see any way to realistically bid this one. Can you?
Yeah, I mean, one thing that you have to be pretty careful about when you're playing match points is that the major suits score a lot better than the minor suits, only because 650 or 620 is a lot better than 620 or 600, which are the scores for minor suits and major suits. And obviously, the scoring is kind of complicated in bridge, but certainly just knowing that at match points, especially, you want to really try and play in a major suit fit or in no trumps, and avoid playing in a minor suit fit is a pretty good thing to remember and an important rule, and will certainly improve your match point scores.
Yeah. So I think it would be pretty normal to end this contract in 4 hearts if you have the ability to find the fit. There's actually one where 3 no trumps does just as well, and you'd be doing, may as well get to 3 no trumps instead. So anyone in 3 no trumps, I think that's a fine spot to stop. Anyone in 4 hearts, you found your fit. Other days this would work really well for you, but probably didn't work out so well today. I don't think it's reasonable to try and bid this slam, even though slam is absolutely fantastic on these cards. I think it's too hard to navigate realistically.
Yeah, I mean, the East hand is absolutely perfect for slam with sharp aces in the two black suits, and then perfect fit in hearts and diamonds.
So don't worry too much if you miss slam on this. If you did find a way to bid the slam, let me know. Tell me about it. Moving on to board number 3. East-West continues the run of really strong hands. South would pass, and West has balanced 18 count, so probably wants to open this hand with the intention of showing 18-19 balanced. Would you find any bid with the North hand? Would you find any bid with the East hand after a diamond opening?
The North hand certainly for me is a little bit too flat, and it hasn't got 4 cards in either major. If you were to change the North hand just a little bit, maybe swap the clubs and the spades, make it a 4-3-3-3 with the same sort of points, there's some chance I might make a takeout double of a diamond just to try and get into the auction, because you really at match points want to fight for those part scores whenever you can. But with this hand and this bad shape, I think I would pass.
Yep, I agree. when you've got like 12 to 14 or 11 to 14 balance, there's hands where you might have potentially opened but have no appropriate overcall, and passing them's completely fine.
Yeah, especially when you've got some length in the opponent's suit. That's the time where passing length or strength, especially strength like queens and jacks in the opponent's suit, is a great reason to pass, even on reasonably strong hands.
Yeah. Would you respond with the east hand? So a diamond pass?
Yeah, it's interesting choice here. You've got lots of points in partner's suit. However, again, you've got a pretty poor shape. I think it's a close call. I'd be tempted to pass only because I haven't really got a convenient bid that describes my hand.
Yeah, so I think I would pass as well. If I'm ever on the borderline of responding just a little bit light, my general idea is to try and improve the part score. But I really don't know what would be better than one diamond anyway. Where might you end up? So I think I would pass this east hand because I don't have a great way of showing a fit of diamonds, which we might not even have a fit in diamonds if you're playing better minor. So supporting them might not be great. I don't really want to end up in no trumps as such with this, so I would be passing a diamond.
Yeah. I mean, the other option is if you had available a chance to raise diamonds, but your hand's just a little bit too weak and a little bit too flat. So I reckon I would just pass one diamond. And one of the things which this hand kind of proves almost is that even opposite 18-19 balanced, you can't make a game in no trumps.
Yeah. Would you bid with the south hand?
Well, it comes back to a very interesting question again as to when you're balancing these kind of spots. And certainly it's right to bid a lot more than some newer players do in the balancing seat. And it certainly doesn't show a ton of points or anything like that. But the question on this hand is whether you think that by bidding, you're going to help your side get to a winning contract, or whether you're going to allow the opponent to get to a better contract. I think it's a close call on this hand, whether I would bid or not.
Yeah, so I think this is really close between bidding or not. I think it's fine if you choose either way. I probably would bid. One of the reasons is I'm already a passed hand, so partner won't get too excited anyway. If I wasn't a passed hand, I could have any number of points and partner might get a bit excited. But it certainly feels like it's going to be the opponent's hand and they might find a spade fit or get somewhere better. So
yeah, certainly one concern on this kind of hand that you have to sort of think about is if the opponents are playing in a minor, that's not that great for them. If there's a chance that by bidding you help them to find a major fit, it could be a disaster to bid. So if you were to change this hand, hypothetically, and give yourself, say, an extra diamond or two and one or two less spades, so maybe you had a 1-5-4-3 shape, now bidding would be totally crazy. I think people would agree. To bid over one diamond would be completely crazy because you really suspect holding a 1-5-4-3 shape that firstly, the opponents might not be in a great fit in diamonds, but also you heard your partner pass, so they almost don't have a five-card spade suit and a few points. So it's more often than not the opponents who will have a spade fit. And if you get into the auction with a heart bid, you'll let them find it. So I would certainly be passing if my shape was a little bit different, like a shorter spades.
Yeah, so if you're in this spot where should we pass them out in this contract or keep bidding, and you have a shortage in one of the unbid majors, that's a warning sign to actually pass it in. Because your partner, if they had that major, would be bidding, so the opponents almost certainly have a fit there. And you might improve their contract rather than yours.
And yeah, on this hand, actually, the opponent's best spot is spades, according to the double dummy analysis. They can scrape home with 8 tricks in spades.
Yep. Don't think you would realistically get there, but it shows that you can improve the spot. Yep. So I think a very typical auction might be a diamond all pass on this hand. If it did go a diamond pass and south does bid, a lot of people might be really keen to actually bid 2 no trumps with the west hand. But if your partner doesn't actually respond and you've got 18 or 19 points, you no longer need to jump to 2 no trumps. 1 no trump actually shows 18, 19 points. If your partner doesn't respond, all the no trump ranges all drop down a level. If you had 12 to 14, there is no way you'd be bidding. 18, 19 balance can just bid one no trump.
Yeah, on this hand, if South did choose to balance with a heart after a diamond pass, I'd probably lean towards starting with a double on the West cards next, just for takeout of one heart, only because you've got a 4-card spade suit. And if partner does have a weak hand, 3 or 4 points with some spades, you want to get to the spades.
Yep. Moving on to board number 4. Finally, North-South get some points for the year.
I've been waiting for a while. Yeah, no.
Here, West had pass, and North has a 5-5 shape with 11 high card points. I think this hand shape and points should definitely be open. So I'd be starting with one spade.
Absolutely worth an opening bid. You really have to think a bit beyond points on this kind of a hand with lots of shape. Definitely worth getting into the auction.
This certainly looks like a hand where people could get themselves into trouble. So if you got really awkwardly placed here, you're probably not alone. But how would you bid this auction, Mike? I'll throw you under the bus.
After a spade, it looks like East-West are going to pass throughout. So a spade, pass. South's got a pretty easy 2-heart bid, I think, bidding a longer suit first. North is a bit stuck for room here. And this is a sort of tricky bidding situation. After a spade past 2 hearts, it's fairly normal to make the bids of a new suit at the 3 level show extra values. And certainly, although the North hand is an easy opening bid, it hasn't got anything extra. And so a lot of people tend to play that after a 2/1, you can rebid your suit, just bidding 2 spades here, just to show minimum opening without anything extra.
Yeah, so I suspect most people would actually bid 3 clubs, but I really like just 2 spade bid and reserving that 3 club bid for extra values.
If North, one of the problems with this sort of hand is that if North does bid 3 clubs on this hand, the South hand has no real idea whether North's got a 17 count or an 11 count. Opposite 17 count, the South hand is looking pretty good. Even though they've bid your 2 sort of short suits, it's still quite possible that you'd be able to make a contract pretty high. But yeah, on this hand, certainly, no matter what happens, it really does appear to both players to be a misfit right from the start.
Yeah, so I think a typical auction that I would like to see, I'm not sure how many people would bid this way, but I'd have it go a spade, 2 hearts, 2 spades, minimum unbalanced. Yep. I'd then have South bid 3 diamonds, showing their diamond suit, rather than repeating their 6-card heart suit. And over that, North could choose between either 3 no trumps or 3 hearts. Now, if they had 3-card heart support, they should have supported hearts immediately over 2 hearts. So if they do bid 3 hearts, that should just show, hey, I've got a doubleton, but I don't know where to go. And I think either 3 no trumps or 3 hearts would be fine. If you bid 3 hearts, partner will raise to 4 hearts. If you bid 3 no trumps, your partner would probably just leave it there and wish you good luck in the play.
Yeah, I mean, I certainly think that with this shape, it would be a mistake not to show support for hearts. I think supporting partner's suit with a doubleton, once you've already denied having 3, is a really powerful thing that a lot of newer players miss. Because, yeah, like Pete says, partner heard you not to bid 2 spades rather than raising hearts the first time. They're not going to ever play you to have a 3-card support. And so if you can sort of trust your partner to always be bidding the honor X in support of your suit, then you get to a lot fewer silly contracts where you sort of rebid your own suit 3 or 4 times and end up playing opposite a void. You kind of trust your partner to support you with a doubleton when they've got one, and you sort of make the whole game a bit easier.
Yep.
For the record, on this hand, you're going to have trouble making 4 hearts. Even though it says that double dummy, it's potentially possible to make it from the North hand. It would be pretty normal to have almost every table North-South going negative here, I think.
Yeah, this seems like a pretty awful hand to bid and play.
So even though they got points this time, they couldn't even make it. Rigged. The game's rigged.
Yeah, moving on to board number 5. So North will pass. Would you be bidding with the East hand on this?
Um, it's a close call. Again, the fact that it's a favorable vulnerability makes getting to the auction a bit more tempting. Certainly don't hate opening 3 clubs here, even though I think that the textbook choice would be to pass.
Yeah. So basically, if you've got only a 6 card suit, you can consider preempting at the 3 level, especially not vulnerable, when you don't have a weak 2 available. Some people might not have a weak 2 in diamonds. No one has a weak 2 in clubs available. So if you preempt 3 of them, usually you're typically got 7, especially if you're vulnerable. But not vulnerable, you can sometimes put 6 card suits in. I personally would be bidding 3 clubs on this hand, but I presume lots of people might pass.
It's definitely a style thing, and the downside of beating 3 clubs is that your suit really isn't very good. Only Queen Jack, with none of the intermediate cards. If you gave me Queen Jack 9-8 to 6, you'd certainly get me to bid. So it's obviously a close call.
Yeah. If it did go a 3 club opening, I'd probably just try bidding 4 spades over that. What are your thoughts about that?
Yeah, I think just bidding 4 spades seems sensible. You sort of are in a bit of a tricky spot where if you start with a double, you might be left with a difficult choice the next time around in the auction. If your left-hand opponent raises to, say, 5 clubs, you've started with a double which just showed a takeout of clubs, whereas coming back around to you at 5 clubs now, you've got to guess whether to bid 5 spades or double again. Um, I think one consideration that people is a good rule that people might not have heard is that once the opponents have preempted, you never preempt over the preempt. So yeah, that's kind of the idea. So that jumping to 4 spades here wouldn't be showing a preempt in spades; it would be showing a good hand with spades.
Yeah. If East didn't bid, the auction would probably go pass, pass, a spade. I would be bidding 2 hearts with the West Ham with 6 hearts.
Yep, having the 6 card suit is a huge difference, which is actually it's another thing which is kind of a something that you start to appreciate as you play more. That having 6 card suits and especially 6-4 shapes is just absolutely worlds away from hands where you only have balanced hands 5-3-3-2 shapes. The extra length in your suit and also the extra shape outside of your suit just makes a huge difference. So yeah, the West hand here is an easy 2 heart bid.
Yeah, and I definitely would be supporting partner with the North hand. You've only got 4 high card points, but you've found a fit. You can count your shortage points. So you can count 3 points for that singleton. So your hand's worth 7 points. Make sure you support your partner, especially in competitive auctions. You want to be quite aggressive in supporting partner.
I would even say maybe a little bit more than 7 points because you've got a 4th trump too.
Yeah.
So yeah, you've certainly got a great hand. And it's actually interesting to contrast this hand to the hand with diamonds from earlier, where we passed over 1 diamond. The difference here, when you got that shape, having a singleton and having partner have bid a major suit, it's just a huge difference. So yep, certainly want to raise with the North hand.
Yeah. Whether it be 2 spades, some people might even have 3 spades as just a 4-card raise. Either we'll get South really excited into bidding 4 spades, but East should be supporting their partner's hearts along the way. So there's one where I can see East-West bidding to 3 or 4 hearts, but North-South finding their way to 4 spades.
Yep.
East-West actually have a good sacrifice in 5 hearts, but they might do it, but...
Yeah, just as a general rule at match points, sacrificing is kind of risky, especially at the 5 level. But on this hand, certainly turns out to pay out. Or pay off, sorry.
Moving on to board number 6. This one looks relatively straightforward. East has a strong no trump and would open 1 no trump. West has 10 points and would probably Stamen. And East says they don't have a major. Now, West does have a singleton club, but my general rule is only worry about suits they tell you to worry about. So I would be stamening with the West hand, and when partner says they don't have a major, I'd just be bidding 3 no trumps.
Yep, absolutely. Another sort of relatively common beginner mistake is to investigate too much on this kind of a hand. Uh, to bid Stayman and then start introducing minor suits, you really want to have a hand where sort of five minor or slam in a minor is on the cards. And this hand, with just enough to minimum raise to game, certainly shouldn't be involving any other suits in the auction.
Yeah. I do think some people might, with a south hand, have found a bid if they've got a conventional raise, a conventional bid to show both majors. I love bidding over the opponent's no trumps. So if you did bid on the south hand because you've got some convention that you and your partner play, well done, and do it more.
Yep. Again, certainly this spot when you're favorable vulnerability, it's the right time to get involved.
Moving on to board number 7. How would you bid this one?
Yeah, well, South again has a really nice hand, despite only having 12 points, easily worth an opening 1 heart bid. The West hand is extremely strong this time. Only 14 points, but a really chunky suit and fantastic shape. So, yeah, I wouldn't be jumping around or anything. I would just be happy to overcall 1 spade to start with. Now the North hand with a few points and a few cards in support of hearts has a pretty easy 2 heart bid. East would pass without any points or support for partner. And now South's got a sort of tricky choice about whether to act over 2 hearts. What do you think here?
I think that they had a really good hand, but the 1 spade overcall made it significantly worse. I love 6-4 shapes, but when the opponents are bidding one of my side suits, and especially if that's not getting supported, that spade suit will be a bit of grief for me, I reckon.
Yeah, this hand would be a lot better if the auction had gone a spade overcall, 2 hearts, and your right-hand opponent had raised to 2 spades, because now you know that it's pretty likely your partner's got a single and a spade. But as it stands, when you haven't got that many high card points, you've only got 12, and the opponents haven't raised, it really does feel like the kind of hand that is a misfit, and so it sort of right to be a bit conservative. So yeah, I think as the auction played out, I'd probably pass the 2 hearts.
I would be bidding again with the West hand, and I don't mind 2 spades, and I don't mind a takeout double. Which way would you go?
Close. Again, it's one of those ones where at match points, I'm a little bit hesitant to make too many takeout doubles with a void in a situation where my partner's going to be sandwiched under the heart bidder. So I think I'd probably just bid 2 spades.
Yep. And that would probably go pass, and South's got an extra trump, but also has 4 spades. Would you go on to 3 hearts?
Very close. I think I probably would. Not because it's always the right choice of action, but just because it skews partner towards having a spade shortage a little bit more here. It's a bit more likely partner has 1 or 2 spades rather than 3 once my left-hand opponent has got advertising a 6-card suit, sorry. But also because my hearts are so good, I've got such a good texture in hearts and not much defense to 2 spades apart from the spades. It's certainly a close call though.
Yeah, I would bid 3 hearts. I wouldn't criticize anyone for passing, certainly. But I just dislike letting the opponents play at the 2 level, even if it's wrong.
Yeah, it tends to be not winning match points to let the opponents play at the 2 level. Another thing that's worth considering is that low-level contracts are some of the hardest contracts to defend in bridge. Even at an expert level, it's very difficult to defend a low-level contract. And so it could be quite possible that the opponents play 2 spades here and sneak home because one of you or your partner makes a tiny mistake or just the way it goes sometimes. And so, yeah, it's kind of like a big position to take when you know you've got a 9-card heart fit to let them play at the 2 level.
Yep. So keeping on with the interesting hands, board number 8 is a bit of a doozy. West is the dealer and has only 10 high card points, but they've got a 6-5 shape. I would be opening 1 heart on this. I'm sure some people would see a 2 heart opening. I think this is far too strong for that. I would strongly recommend a 1 heart opening with this sort of hand.
Yeah, especially when you've got aces. They really turn any hand into an opening hand. It's one of my sort of philosophies. If you've got a couple of aces, it doesn't really matter how many points you've got apart from that. You can always open at the one level and never be too far wrong. And certainly with this shape, it's a clear cut one heart opening.
North has a pretty decent hand. They may overcall two diamonds. Some people may overcall two clubs, but with two 5-card suits, you want to bid the higher ranking one. Alternatively, you can bid unusual two no trumps, showing the two lowest unbid suits. You can do that with a wide variety of strengths. Some people play it weak or strong. This is pretty strong, so I would happily bid two no trumps with this, but I don't mind if your partnership style is two diamonds. Which way would you go?
Yeah, the advantage of two no trumps is that you get your whole hand across in one bid, which has a ton of upside because, again, if you were to bid just diamonds, hypothetically, and the auction came around back to you at four hearts or four spades, you don't know what to do. You haven't had a chance to tell partner. Your side could have a big 10, 11 card club fit, and you never have a chance to show it because you've only got to show one of your suits. So I think it's pretty clear that if you have the option to show both of your suits with one bid, it's often right to stretch and do it, and I would do it this time for sure.
Yep. And over two no trumps, East has 6 spades, but they have a fit for hearts. I would be showing my heart fit straight away. There's a few ways that you can actually do this in your partnership, but I reckon a pretty common way people would do is just bid 4 hearts, even if you might be undercooking this hand a little bit.
Yeah, it's certainly it's a tricky hand because over a two no trump overcall, hypothetically, if it had started a one heart and then North had bid an unusual two no trumps to show both minors, the East hand is pretty good because it really feels like there's a decent chance partner has a shortage in clubs. There are only sort of 3 or 4 clubs unaccounted for. And if you give partner the ace queen of hearts in a singleton club, you're getting pretty close to making slam. So yeah, I would certainly be tempted to go a little harder and try and investigate for a slam, but it is tricky to do it in these kind of competitive auctions unless you've got some kind of agreements and some tools to get there. So certainly bidding 4 hearts would be a practical choice. The question of whether you want to show the spades here is often worth considering. I mean, this hand could easily play better in spades, as it turns out, but on the actual deal, given the spades for 6-1 in the opponent's hands, that's not the case.
Yeah, so I think that if you start showing your spades, it'll get really awkward for partner in lots of times, where they might get pushed into raising spades when they don't want to, or it can get a little bit challenging, especially if the opponents bid on over your 3 spade bid by bidding 5 diamonds or something.
Yeah, again, it's always worth considering when you're choosing between 2 bids of how the bids are going to play out in a competitive situation, because especially when you start playing against tougher opponents, they very rarely stay quiet. They always get in your way, and so you're much better describing the most critical parts of your hand as early as possible. So certainly, I sort of agree that just bidding 4 hearts here is a good practical choice. Although I think that sort of technically you would be better to try and start it a little bit slower. One bid that's worth considering here, but maybe a more advanced idea, would be to consider making a splinter to show a singleton diamond with heart support. Would you ever consider that, Pete, on this hand?
So I would do it if I had that in the kit bag. So splinters are a convention where you can show support for partner, but also show shortages where you've got them. And they're sort of jump bids in unusual spots. So if you don't play them, I wouldn't worry about it. But it's a good convention that I like. And I would do it on this hand if I had it. Basically, to deal with this one in a competitive situation, you need some partnership agreements to be able to show stronger hands. Splinter bids are one option. Another potential option is a Q raise, which is bidding the opponent's suit. The opponents haven't bid any suit, but they have shown both clubs and diamonds. So you don't need 3 clubs or 3 diamonds to be natural. These are all things you can discuss with your partnership and look for definitely a challenging one if you haven't actually done that before.
Certainly one thing to consider on these sort of hands is you've got to be realistic about what your options are. And even the experts playing with other experts haven't always discussed every sequence. And so being able to work out what's a sensible, practical choice is often more important than finding the absolute best technical bid. Certainly, bidding 4 hearts is the winner on this hand.
Moving on to board number 9. Yeah, Northwood has a unbalanced 16 count with a good 6-card heart suit. Let's start with 1 heart. I think East-West would be silent throughout. But I'd suspect it'd go 1 heart, pass, 1 spade, pass. North hand is a bit awkward, but I would just be rebidding 3 hearts. And I suspect South would just raise that to 4 hearts. Would you rebid 3 hearts with the North hand?
Yeah, I think 3 hearts is about what the hand's worth. Always when you've got a really solid suit, Ace, King, Queen, 10, 9 being a really chunky looking suit, you can always stretch to bid a little bit more. So definitely worth 3 hearts, I think.
Moving on to board number 10, another doozy. East-West have some fabulous shape here, and South has a pretty decent hand themselves.
There's been a few big hands this set, really exciting boards.
Yeah. Here, East has 8 hearts, but they've got 11 high card points. Would you open 1 heart or 4 hearts?
Yeah, this is a spot that often people have different opinions. I remember that someone once did a study of top-level players in expert tournaments based on hands played on Bridge Base Online, and over a pretty big sample of hands, opening 4 of a major was a really big winner. And so I've sort of changed my style a bit in line with that. And so I open 4 of a major whenever it's a sort of reasonable option. So this would be a 4-heart bid for me.
Yeah, I like 4 hearts. One of the reasons that you sometimes open at the 1 level is you're worried about missing slams. We don't have a great hand for slam. We'd need our partner to have 3 aces, basically.
Yeah.
So
this
you
hand's a very good hand for game, but not a great hand for slam. So yeah, I agree.
I like 4 hearts. And as the South hand, I would double over this. Take out a heart. So if the opponent's preempt at the 4 level and you double, most people play double of 4 hearts as takeout, but if they had opened 4 spades, it would be for penalties. Here, we don't have 4-card spade suit, but we've got a good hand. You don't want to let them steal this contract from you. So I would make a double here for takeout.
I mean, and certainly on this South hand, if you imagine even as little as like King Jack to 5 spades with your partner as North, you would be very well playing in 4 spades, and they might have been able to make 4 hearts too. So yeah, I think it's certainly a pretty clear double.
North, I would probably bid 5 diamonds, but I think it's reasonable to pass.
Yeah, well, I mean, even West has got a bit of a choice here, looking at a really chunky spade suit and a singleton heart. But I think in this kind of spots, when your partner is vulnerable, you certainly right to trust them to have a decent suit for their opening.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think the North hand is close. Certainly, you're not excited about bidding 5 diamonds given your shape, having only a 5-3-3-2. But the fact that you've got ace 3rd heart means that you probably haven't got any heart losers. You might be able to scrape them in 5 diamonds. It's certainly a close one. I probably lean towards passing the 4 hearts, even though it works out very poorly on this board.
Yeah. I think that's
again the winning action doesn't always work. The best action doesn't always work is certainly true.
Yeah. So this one's a bit of a nightmare, and you can see how preamps work, and really awkward for them. Moving on to board number 11. South has unbalanced 12 count with a 6-card heart suit. Let's start with 1 heart. West is getting close to a takeout double, but I don't think they've just strong enough. Maybe if you gave me another point, I'd be there.
Yep.
And North would bid a no trump.
Seems pretty normal. Yep.
East could consider a 2 club bid. Their suit quality is not great, and they don't have fantastic points, but their shape's okay. I could go either way on 2 clubs or pass.
Certainly closer to bidding than some of the other hands from before. I might bid 2 clubs. I think at match points, letting the opponents play at the 1 level in no trump or the 2 level in a major just isn't winning bridge. So I think I'd probably bid 2 clubs.
Yeah, I think I like that. And South would then go ahead and bid 2 hearts. and West should raise their partner to 3 clubs. And
Yep.
I think it's entirely reasonable to be defending 3 clubs here.
Yeah, I mean the only thing, the North hand, once your partner has showed a 6 card heart suit and the opponents are bidding and raising clubs, your hand starts to look a lot better. Even the 10-9 of hearts are 2 really big cards. You know that partner's going to have a heart suit, something like, King Jack to 6 or Ace Jack to 6. And having that 10-9 can really solidify the interior of your partner's suit. And so I don't think it's crazy, once the opponents start raising clubs, and partners likely to have short clubs as well, to consider raising to 3 hearts.
Yeah. Yeah, I think you could give it merit. I think I would probably pass, but 3 hearts is the winning action on this hand.
Yeah, it's certainly a close one. Yeah. Again, it comes down to often, at match points, these choices matter quite a lot, because at imps, it's sort of neither here nor there. Neither here nor there. You're either going to go plus 50 or minus 50 or plus 110 or minus 110. But at match points, the difference between plus 50 and minus 50 can be huge.
Certainly can be. Moving on to board number 12, the exciting boards don't stop yet. West has an 8-4 shape. I would definitely be opening 5 clubs on this hand. What about you?
Yeah, it's a tricky one. Opening at the 5 level in a minor isn't something that I'm very excited about doing, but certainly favorable vulnerability and with an 8-4 shape is a pretty reasonable choice. You certainly don't want to defend 4 spades with this hand. And so, yeah, a preempt that it's a really strong preempt that people often don't consider is opening 4 of a minor, so 4 clubs in this kind of hand. But I think with the 8-4 shape and the favorable vulnerability, 5 clubs probably would be my choice.
Yeah, so if you moved like a heart into a diamond or something, I'd be much more keen for a 4 club bid.
Yep.
But both the vulnerability and having 12 cards in 2 suits, I'd be leaning towards 5 clubs.
Yep.
We do have a 4 card
a
major here,
yeah.
but I just can't imagine wanting to play anywhere but clubs on this hand. So I'd start with 5 clubs. North would pass, East would pass, and South, who's still counting their high card points, is in a little bit of a struggle. But all they can really do is double.
Yep. I mean, that's both the upside and the downside of opening 5 clubs. The upside is that you really give your opponents a big problem and they have to double. The downside is that they double and you normally can't make it, which is true in this hand.
Yeah. And you'd go, looks like you go 3 down on this. You're lucky to drop the Singleton King, but you lose the 5 major suit cards. So down 3, which is good against their game that they could make in 4 hearts or 4 spades, given the chance. And South would be pining over the next time they get 25 points and end up defending. Moving on to board number 13. Here, North has a 17 count with a 7-card diamond suit. And would start with 1 diamond. East has a 7-4 shape. What would you overcall with the East hand?
Yeah, this is another hand where I think that getting into the option with an aggressive preempt really is a great choice. I think I would be tempted to bid 4 spades. The 7-4 shape and the good suit qualities in both hearts and spades really make it feel like a good choice. The other alternative would be to bid just 3 spades, which is a little bit wimpy, but you are vulnerable at match points, so it does pay to be wimpy sometimes, unfortunately.
So I like 4 spades here. With 7-4 shapes, I really often just try and bid to the 4 level straight away. Be quite aggressive with it. If you move to heart or into a diamond or a club, 3 spades is pretty normal.
Yeah,
you could vaguely consider a 1 spade bid because that would keep hearts in the picture. But we're not that strong, so you probably just want to take room away from the opponents. So I really like a four spade bid. It makes life really difficult for the opponents. Um, and the auction would probably continue one diamond, four spades, pass, five diamonds.
Yeah, it seems relatively normal to bid five diamonds with the north hand. Again, you might consider just making a takeout double, in the hope that maybe partner will defend four spades some of the time when that's right. But the downside on this hand is you haven't got any hearts. You've only got a doubled in heart. Um, so it's a bit of a risk that if you make a takeout double of four spades, or more of just a value showing double of four spades, partner might bid hearts,
Yeah.
and you could get in trouble.
I think most people would play the double just as strictly penalties.
Okay, yep. Um, yeah, in that case, it certainly feels like you want to keep. Yeah, you certainly have a chance to make something at the five level. So five diamonds is a reasonable choice. Again, that's sort of the power of a four spade bid on these kind of hands. You really put the pressure on the opponents and make them guess. Bidding five diamonds could be disastrously wrong if the diamonds break badly or partner hasn't got any points. But as it turns out on this hand, it's just partner's got just enough to let you make it.
And with the west hand, you could consider five spades, but I don't like bidding five over five very much. And we've got two aces, so I think we've got a decent chance of partner showing up with a defensive trick somewhere and hopefully being able to beat them at the five diamonds. So I would defend. What about you?
Yeah, definitely. I think it's definitely right to defend here. As it turns out, partner has a second suit of hearts, which is not great for your defensive prospects. But if hypothetically speaking, partner was to have a secondary suit of a different suit, like clubs or something, you might be able to give them like a heart ruff and actually beat the contract. So certainly on this hand, it's a bit unlucky that the north south can make a five level contract. That's just the way bridge goes sometimes.
Yeah. So while bidding five spades is a success today, I don't think we'd be doing it.
Yep. Again, if you were to swap partners, clubs and hearts against five diamonds, they're going to leave their singlet in heart now, get a ruff. You're playing a spade to your ace, maybe get another ruff. So you might actually beat five diamonds two tricks on a different day.
Yep.
Whereas today it's making. So that's just the way it goes.
So moving on to board number 14, the excitement still continues. You must be wondering when the balanced hands continue.
Boards, Pete, this is crazy.
East has a balanced 16 count and can open a no trump. South would pass, and West would start with a transfer to spades. What would you bid with the north hand?
Again, 8 card suits. Surprise, not based on what we've seen today in this set of boards, but 8 card suits usually don't come along very often. And so I would certainly be bidding something. I think I would probably just bid four hearts, get to the four level as fast as possible.
Yeah, we are not vulnerable. I think four hearts is fine. I also don't mind three hearts. My general thoughts here is that the opponents have already been able to show a lot of information. So preempts are really good earlier in the auction. So I think their opponents would be really well placed on where they want to go after this start. So I'd want to get it in the way. I'd want to show my hearts. I think four hearts is probably what I'd bid, but I think three hearts is reasonable too.
Yep, I think both of them are very sensible choices. Maybe the upside of four hearts is that on this kind of a board with the spade void, it's very likely the opponents are going to want to support spades. And by bidding four hearts, you take away all of their clever ways to support spades. That they're not going to be able to make a Q bid or a raise or bid a new suit. One sort of idea is that once a player's open a no trump, if their partner now makes a transfer bid, the player who's opened the no trump doesn't ever really want to bid a new suit because they don't know what their partner's got. So it's common to make all the new suit bids be artificial and showing a good hand with support for their partner's transfer suit. So on this hand, if you give the opponents some room by only bidding three hearts, East might be able to make a good bid by bidding four clubs now over three hearts. And again, because their partner hasn't really promised too much in the way of points, it's mostly just showing a great hand for spades with some good club values.
Well, whatever you do, I think East West would be hard pressed to find slam on this hand. I think ending in 4 spades is what you'd do. West would just bid 4 spades most of the time as their follow up bid.
Yep.
Moving on to board number 15. This one I would suspect would go 3 passes to East, who has a balanced 14 count. And they want to open 1 club. They're better minor. So if you've got 3-3 in the minors, you always open a club, regardless that your clubs are 3 to the 7. And West would bid a spade, and as East would bid a no trump. And West has 10 points in a 5-4 shape. They're probably not interested in game, but it's still worthwhile showing your hearts. I'd bid 2 hearts here. And that should typically be weak with 5 spades and 4 hearts. East has a great hand for that. They probably should just pass their partner in 2 hearts, but they might raise to 3 hearts.
It all sounds pretty sensible, I think. Yep. On this hand, it certainly wouldn't be a disaster to get to a higher contract, but at match points, it pays to be a bit conservative. I think it's worth considering with the West hand that once partner's bid a no trump, bidding 2 hearts here has a couple of ways to win. You might hit a heart fit, in which case the hand should play great, and you'll usually make more tricks with an 8-card fit. And if you don't hit a heart fit, then it's very likely that partner has a couple of spades for you, maybe 3 spades, and you can play a spade fit. So I think definitely the percentages suggest that you definitely should bid both your majors and try and find a major fit.
Yep. Moving on to 16. Here West has a 10 count and would probably pass, although I'm sure you could twist Mike's arm and get him to open. North has a 6-4 shape. I would be opening this one. 6-4 shapes are great. So I'd start with a diamond. And East would probably bid 2 hearts weak.
I'd probably lean more towards just bidding 1 heart here. Not so much because my hand is too strong for a weak 2, but just because I'm vulnerable against Knot and I've got a really flat hand. I'd be happy just to overcall 1 heart.
Yeah, I think both are good. I probably would bid a heart. South would show their spades, whether it be 1 spade or 2 spades, depending on what they bid. And yep. North would jump to 4 hearts. And North with just a minimum would probably just pass.
Yeah, I mean, the North hand is good to start with, a great hand to start with a 6-4 shape. But hearing partner bid spades improves your hand a little bit because you have got the ace doubled in spade and the opponents have got the heart fit. Yeah, it's certainly a close call. I would be tempted to try and get into the option over 4 hearts, only because it feels likely in this sort of spot when the opponent's been and raised to 4 hearts quickly that they do have likely a 10-card fit. And so it gives partner a lot of cards in either they've got heaps of spades or they've got some diamonds and clubs. So it's tricky though.
Yeah. I think it's likely that if you pass, partner will bid with some strength anyway, and then you've got another chance.
Yeah, that's true. That's certainly true. And you have to draw the line somewhere. Is the reality. So yeah,
I'd probably pass. East would pass. South I'd just double with.
Yeah, I mean the South hand is a tricky choice again because on some days it might be right to not bid again. Even it could be right to pass out 4 hearts.
Yeah. I think it would be totally reasonable. The prospect of a good diamond fit would make me want to double. And I could see North-South ending their way into 5 diamonds after that.
Yeah, it's certainly a close hand. The difficult choices for North and South if East-West can be aggressive and get to 4 hearts quickly.
Moving on to board number 17. North would pass and East has a 5-2-2-4 shape, 16 points. Most people would open a spade, and South has 11 points, but no appropriate bid. I wouldn't be doubling here. You don't want to double just because you got 11 points. You can't handle partner bidding clubs or even potentially hearts. So I'd passes south. West I'd raise to 2 spades. North would pass, and I would invite with the east hand. And I think West should accept. So however you do it, it might be 1 spade, 2 spades, 3 spades, 4 spades. You might do long suit trials or something else and show your clubs along the way. It's entirely reasonable not to get to game on these cards as well.
Yeah, inviting isn't something that I really like very much, but on this hand with 16 points, and you know your partner is kind of 6 to 9 or 6 to 10, something like that, and you've got pretty good hands. Certainly if partner has the king of clubs, there's king of clubs and queen of spades is enough to almost make a game good by itself. So yeah, I think that it's a reasonable choice to try bidding an invite with the east hand.
Moving on to board 18. Would you open the east hand?
Yeah, I mean, personally, my rule is that there is no bad 11 counts. Certainly none that have got an ace and a king and no jacks. So yeah, I would happily open the east hand, but a lot of people, especially some of the more senior players, are a bit more conservative, and they can do quite well at match points too. So certainly there's no harm in passing either.
Yeah, I personally would open. My general philosophy is I open balanced 11 counts not vulnerable, but I'd pass them when I'm vulnerable.
Yeah, if you're unfavorable here, you can make a much stronger case for passing, because the chances of you getting to a contract and going couple off is a risk. Whereas at favorable, if you get to play a no trump couple off, it's probably a good score.
Yeah. I suspect most people would pass this hand, so I'll just work on those lines. Yeah. South would open a club, West would pass, and North would respond a heart. East would pass, and South would probably just bid 2 clubs. And that might be where the auction rests.
That feels pretty normal to me. Yeah, getting to 2 clubs, kind
of. If East did open the bidding and you've got that lovely 6-card club suit, if the opponents open your long suit, typically what you want to do is just pass. Some people have some methods, but passing over a club would be fine. And it might go a club, pass, a spade, or a diamond. But a club, a spade, and East would bid a no trump, and the auction might rest there. Yeah, but I think most people would end this auction in 2 clubs south.
Yep, seems pretty normal.
Moving on to board number 19. This board seems so flat compared to the others, and there's still a 5-5 shape. So here, South would pass. West has a 5-5-10 count. All their points are in their shortages, though, so I don't mind passing on this. I don't mind opening. Which way would you go?
Even though we kind of talked about opening 10 counts with some shape before, this hand is way different for me. It just feels way different because you've got all your points in your shortages. I think it's a fairly far way away from opening personally. I think I would always pass this.
North, I would open a spade. You're in 3rd position. You're not vulnerable. You got 11 points. You got a 5-card suit. I'd be opening a spade.
Yep.
And then East would be making a takeout double.
Yep. Great shape for takeout double. Plenty of points.
South, I would raise spades. Whether it be 2 spades, 3 spades, whatever your methods are when you've got 4-card support and a singleton, you definitely want to be supporting there.
Certainly with this kind of a shape, I would really like to be able to bid more than just 2 spades, because being able to bid 3 spades with 4 trumps and a singleton and a 5-card suit just really puts the pressure on the opponents. Doesn't matter how many points you've got so much. It's just when you've got that 9-card major fit and a bit of shape to back it up, it really does winning bridge to be able to raise aggressively.
Here, the West hand, I'd probably be bidding 4 hearts over the takeout double. It's a bit, it's kind of awkward. You got good shape, but for all the reasons you didn't open, maybe you still just bid 3 hearts. But
I think now I'd bid 4. The reality is that you've still got a 5-5, and even though it wasn't quite worth opening values, partner's going to have a hard time believing you've got 10 points in a 5-5 if you don't bid 4 hearts.
And I think that's probably where the auction would rest. And
yep.
It looks like the diamonds are badly placed for you, so you'll probably go down 1.
Yeah, it's one of those hands where it's actually 4 hearts. If you were to look at it, just the east-west cards is probably a pretty good spot. Looks like you're going to lose a heart, spade, and the diamond finesse should work because it's through the opening bidder. But on this hand, the king of diamonds is the only card that South has, so you end up going 1 off, which is a bit unlucky. Again, the right contract doesn't always end up with a happy result.
Moving on to board number 20, West would pass, North would open a club, and I would overcall 1 heart. Would you overcall on this hand?
Yeah, again, especially at match points, there is a huge upside to being able to get a good suit into the auction at a low level because partner will know what to lead. And this is a great example of that, where telling partner you want a heart lead and nothing else is viable is such a powerful thing. I mean, certainly when I started playing there, would never have considered bidding a heart on this sort of hand. Yeah. But the more that I play, the more that I've realized being able to sneak into the auction at the 1 level is pretty safe, safer than you might think, and just gets you off to the right lead or in the right direction.
Yeah, most people are told you need 8 points to overcall, but one of the main ideas of overcalling is you tell partner about the lead. And so it's a great suit for telling partner about that. So I'd be happily bidding a heart here, but I presume lots of people would pass as well.
Yeah, I think the field probably passes here, but if you were to give the same problem in an expert field, I think you'd probably get most people bidding. So that sort of shows you a bit of a difference there.
Yeah. South would be a spade. And North has an awkward problem over a spade rebid. What would you do?
Tricky. You've only got 13 high card points. You're kind of in between bidding a no trump, which is supposed to show a balanced hand with probably a double and a spade, or rebidding 2 clubs, which is supposed to show 6 clubs. So you've kind of got a choice of 2 bad options, which is sadly often the way it works out in the bridge bidding problem. I think I would lean towards a no trump only because at match points, playing in the minors tends to not be a great idea. You tend to be better off angling towards no trumps or majors. So I think if I was thinking about what I'd prefer the final contract to be, opposite partner spades, I'd probably rather play a no trump than 2 clubs.
I personally am a 2 club bidder. I agree with everything you say there. But what I've personally found from experience is that when I rebid a no trump, often partner will take me back to spades after doing that.
Yeah, that's
whereas
true. Yep.
If I show the unbalanced hand, more often than not, when partner proceeds, we actually end in no trumps. So you're right that I don't really want to be playing this in clubs that often. But if partner's going to continue the auction, I think if I bid a no trump, most of the time I end in spades. And if I bid clubs, most of the time I end up in no trumps.
Yeah, very reasonable. And certainly the upside of rebidding clubs here is that you do, it does have that implication of an unbalanced hand, and partners should take that into account when they're considering the rest of their choices. Yep.
If you rebid a no trump, South should probably just bid 4 spades. If you rebid 2 clubs, South could bid something like 2 diamonds forcing to find out more information.
Yep.
And you might show your hearts or... Yeah, North's problems don't end there.
It starts to get a bit messy on the next round too. Yeah, I mean, you're never going to have an easy go bidding these 2 hands, but
I could see you ending up in 4 spades or 3 no trumps.
Certainly, South has enough values they're always going to force the game somewhere. And again, I think one of the good things on this board is to consider that if you give partner enough chances to support you with a doubleton in spades, hypothetically, if it had gone a club, a spade, 2 clubs, now you might try 2 diamonds. And this is another spot where if partner does have Jack X or 10X of spades, they might consider bidding 2 spades along the way somewhere. And so if you kind of muddle around a few times and partner never does that, you can kind of recognize that it's very likely they haven't got double and spade, only have a singleton or a void, and you can avoid playing spades and play no trumps instead, which on this hand will score a bit better.
Yep. Moving on to board number 21. North has a balanced 12 count with 4-4 in the minors. Which minor you open is really partnership preference, but typically what I like with 4-4 in the minors is to open 1 diamond. I find diamonds easier to support rather than clubs, but some people do open a club here. East-west would stay silent throughout. South would start with a heart. And north, I would be rebidding a no trump. Even though you have just a doubleton spade, I only worry about suits the opponents tell me to worry about. And so I would be bidding one no trump rather than just supporting partners' hearts with only 3. Do you agree with that, Mike?
Yeah, I mean, it's somewhat a style thing. And I play in some partnerships where it is somewhat normal to raise partners 1 level major response to 2 major with only 3 card support, especially such a chunky 3 card support as Ace Queen Jack. But I certainly agree with Pete that 1 no trump is reasonable too.
And if we had the 1 no trump rebid, what would you do with the south hand?
Tricky. Well, I certainly think this is another spot where you kind of want to be able to involve partner in a choice of being slammed. So I might start with a game forcing check back type bid. Again, I think you need some sort of method here. It really is a tricky spot to negotiate without any system at all. You really want to have a couple of bids after your 1 no trump rebid that help you to describe this kind of a hand.
Yeah, so if you didn't have any conventions, you'd probably just bid 4 hearts because I don't think you'd have the way to look for it.
For sure. Yeah, 4 hearts is very likely where you're going to end up.
Yeah, but I would like some methods here where I can set up a game forcing auction, then show my partner I want to play in hearts and involve them there.
Yeah, but one thing to consider when you're thinking about whether to add a convention to your system or not is how often does this convention come up? Is it going to be one of those conventions that you talk about it for half an hour and then you don't use it again for like 6 months and then you've sort of wasted your time? Whereas stuff like a check back bid after a 1 no trump rebid is such a common situation. It's such a common auction that always comes up that it really is worth investing a few minutes of your time to come up with a good system with your partner and talk through how it works so that you can bid some of these hands better.
Moving on to board number 22. East has an awkward opening bid choice. I think there's 3 choices that people might choose. They might choose to open 1 heart, they might choose to open 2 clubs, and they might choose to open 2 no trumps. What are your thoughts here?
Yeah, for me, I'm not afraid to open 2 no trumps, showing a balanced hand with a 5-4-2-2 shape. But it feels like I've got too many points in hearts and clubs here. My suits are too chunky, and I've got not enough in diamonds and spades. So I'd be happy just to open at 1 heart.
Yeah, so I don't think this is good enough for a 2 club opening. It's not something that I really want to strive to do. I don't think it helps your auction too much. I probably would open 1 heart just because I don't have much in the... Like, my 2 suits are pretty good. My shortages aren't. There's lots of 5-4-2-2 shapes that I do open 2 no trumps on.
Yeah, especially if you gave me maybe like King X of spades, Ace Queen of diamonds rather than all my points in my suits. You definitely talked me into opening a 2 no trump with this shape then. But I think on this hand, you can afford to bid hearts and probably maybe jump in clubs next to show a game force with those 2 suits if you get a chance.
So here, an auction that I'd like to see happen is 1 heart by East, and I would make a takeout double with the south hand. I wouldn't be overcalling 2 clubs with this flimsy suit.
Yeah, very clear. Another sort of common expert thing is overcalling a bad 5 card suit is very risky. Whereas getting in with a double, you get all of your suits into the auction. You could easily be better off playing in spades or diamonds here if partner's got a 5 card suit in one of those, or even a 4 card spade suit could easily be safe enough to play at 1 spade. Whereas by bidding 2 clubs, you put yourself in a tremendous risk that one of the opponents has, say, Ace King Queen 10 of clubs or something, and can really punish you.
Yeah. So in general, overcalling at the 1 level with bad suits is relatively fine. Okay. The 2 level is very dangerous. So you want 6 card suits, you want good quality suits, compensating points. Doubles are much more flexible bid. With the west hand, I would probably pass over the 1 heart double.
Yep.
North would bid a spade, and I would still just jump to 3 clubs with the east hand.
Yep, that feels like plenty. You're certainly showing a very good hand opposite partner's initial pass, because if they had a decent hand with 7 or 8 points, they probably would have did something. So, yeah.
South would pass, and West is an awkward spot. I would be choosing between 3 hearts and 3 no trumps. We've got about the best hand we can have that passed. Like, you can have some stronger hands that would pass over the double, but this is like the best normal hand you would have.
Partner also heard you pass, and they're still interested in trying to get towards game with a three club bid. So it certainly feels close to me whether you bid now 3 hearts or 3 no trumps, but there's certainly your 2 options.
Yeah.
Again, this is a bit of a similar option to an option which just starts like a heart, spade, 2 clubs, where there's absolutely no shame in showing preference here to 3 hearts with only a doubleton. That's how many partner will assume that you have.
I think I would choose 3 no trumps because of all my points in the unbid suits.
We've also got 2 tens and a pretty good stopper in diamonds and spades. So yeah, I think 3 no trumps would probably be my choice as well. But again, at match points, it can often be right to be a bit conservative. The problem on the hand about bidding 3 hearts is there's no guarantee that the hand is going to play heaps better in hearts than in no trumps. And if you make 3 no trumps, you're going to get a huge bonus. So it's probably that pushes me towards trying 3 no trumps.
Yep. Moving on to board number 23. South has a balanced 17 count, would open a no trump. West would pass. North has 8 points and a 7-card heart suit. I would be transferring to hearts and just game forcing, bidding 4 hearts. You agree?
Yeah, I think with a 7-card suit, your hand becomes so powerful that it's not worth trying to be delicate and invite all that kind of stuff.
Yeah. And 4 hearts is a pretty good spot to get to.
Yeah, some people in that situation might choose to play over their no trumper method, transfer to hearts at the 4 level, which can be quite good on this sort of a hand because it gets you to the final contract as fast as possible.
Moving on to board number 24. West has a 4-4-1 shape, 15 points. I'm not a big fan of opening 1 no trump with a singleton, especially a small singleton, so I'd be opening this 1 club. North would pass. I'd probably bid a spade with the east hand, or even a diamond if that's your partnership style. I tend to respond when I have an ace in my hand, but some people might choose to pass a club. Which way would you go?
Another thing to consider here is that the vulnerability is nil, which means that responding and getting to like a no trump going 1 or 2 off is not a disaster. Whereas if you had been vulnerable, you might make more of a case for sometimes passing on this kind of a hand.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think especially when you're not vulnerable, getting a response in, just putting a bit of pressure on the opponents is a good thing to do. So I would respond with the hand.
Yeah. So here I think I'd go a club, pass a spade. East has a pretty good hand, but they don't have anything really to bid. I'd probably be passing with the south hand.
Yeah, the alternative to pass is to maybe try a takeout double, even though you haven't really got support for hearts. You've got 3 hearts, which is not the end of the world. I think it's reasonable to do either action. One thing that might push me towards trying a takeout double is the fact that it's nil vulnerability again, and you really don't want to give the opponents a free run.
Yeah. Either way, I think West should be jumping to 3 spades at least over that.
Yeah, I think three spades is the sort of the value of the hand. Again, you started off with only 15 high card points, and it wasn't even a great 15 count because you got no aces and lots of queens and jacks. But once partner shows spades and you've got that singleton, you really have to reevaluate the strength of your hand.
Yeah. And East would be happy to get out of the auction as soon as they can.
Regretting their choice to open is maybe the way to put it. But as it turns out, 3 spades is the pass spot.
Yep. Moving on to board number 25. Here, North has a balanced 13 count and would open a diamond. And East has 18 points. They've got a takeout shape and would start with a double. South has 9 points. I would probably just be bidding a no trump Would you?
I'd probably lean towards raising diamonds, maybe only because you've got pretty chunky diamond suit, and I suspect the opponents are about to start bidding one of the majors. Um, yeah, certainly. Again, match point madness suggests that maybe a no trump might score better. So it's a close call.
Yeah. I think either's quite reasonable. West would obviously pass, North would pass, and I would double again. So if you double and double again, it just shows you have a stronger takeout double, 16 or more points. Whichever option South has chosen, West would probably just bid 2 spades. And I think that's where I'd let the auction rest.
Yeah, I certainly wouldn't be bidding again as the East hand once you double twice. One thing again is bridge is sort of a game of you build up a picture of your hand over multiple rounds of bidding. On the first round of bidding, East was kind of showing about an opening hand or more. By acting a second time, they're showing about a king or an ace more than that. And then at that point, West, if they did have a 7 or 8 count, would know that maybe game was an option and would bid more. So yeah, being able to show a good hand and then leave it in 2 spades is an important thing to be able to do.
Yeah. Moving on to board number 26, another sort of awkward opening choice for West after it's gone pass to them. Some people might open 2 clubs and some people might open 1 club. Which way would you go?
Yeah, I really don't like stretching to open 2 clubs. And I think it's kind of a theme that the more I've played, the more bad results I've gotten opening 2 clubs. And so the less I do it, it's kind of the way that's worked for me.
Yeah. Especially 2 suited hands, I'm not a big fan of. So I would open 1 club on this hand, and I would expect North just to overcall a diamond. And that would probably go pass to West, who should double. And North might choose to bid 2 diamonds over that.
Yeah, that all seems pretty reasonable. Yeah.
East is already a passed hand, so I'd probably bid 2 spades at this stage.
Yeah, the thing to consider though is that when it goes a club, a diamond, the East hand has a 5 card suit, but just not a very good hand. No, not a lot of points in well, no points at all in spades. The Queen of Diamonds is sort of a defensive card, but not great for playing the hand. So it does feel right to be conservative and just pass. Or you've only got 4 points as well. But once you've done that, partner already knows that you've got sort of the 0 to 5 range. And so you can afford to be a bit aggressive later with a 5 card suit.
Yeah. And South would probably still pass, and West I'd want to make 1 further action.
Yeah, I mean, certainly at match points, you could argue that you've already really pushed hard. But on the other side of the coin, you do have a fantastic hand, which is 20 high card points and also a shortage. So even though partner is in the 0 to 5 or more, probably more like the 3 to 5 range, there still might be a chance you can make a game.
Yeah.
And so I think, raising to 3 or 4 spades is a sensible choice.
Yep. Certainly one you could miss game on as well. And
yeah, definitely. And again, it certainly at match points, it pays to really be as aggressive as you can getting to the auction, because passing and defending the low-level contracts is just not a winning way to play.
Moving on to board number 27. South has a balanced 11 count. Both me and Mike talked about opening these when we're not vulnerable. I presume lots of people would pass this one. You can go with whatever your partnership style would be. If it was pass, it would go pass, and North would open a club. East would pass. And South has a balanced 11 count. They might choose 2 no trumps over that. And that's probably where the auction would rest. If you did open the South hand, you would get to 3 no trumps, with like it going a club, potentially a spade overcall, or a club pass, a heart pass, a no trump, and North would sort of force to 3 no trumps. But yeah. I think ending in 2 or 3 no trump, depending on did you open this or not.
All seems pretty sensible, and certainly on this layout, with the opponents being able to catch some diamonds, you'd prefer to stop as low as possible.
Yeah. And
interestingly, one idea I personally don't like to ever jump to two no trumps as a passed hand, only because it's just a really icky contract. I don't really want my partner to have to play, or I don't want myself to have to play two no trumps ever. Um, and so, yeah, I'd probably be more tempted to just bid, even if you did pass the south hand, I might just bid one no trump.
Yeah, I completely agree with the disdain for two no trumps as a contract. But that's also why I would open this and end in three no trumps.
That's exactly. And so we ended up going one off in three when two was a making spot. So that's
yeah. And moving on to our final board, board number 28. So here, West would open one spade, North would pass, and East would bid two clubs. South would pass, West would bid two hearts, North would pass, and East could bid three no trumps. They could maybe bid three diamonds, fourth suit forcing is another sensible choice. How would you proceed with this one?
Yeah, I probably prefer to keep the auction alive for one more round with a three diamond bid, only because you still don't quite know what partner's got at this point. Partner might have a 5-5 with hearts and spades. Partner might have a 6-4 with six spades and four hearts. And so I reckon that I think I just slightly prefer bidding three diamonds.
Yeah, I like three diamonds. I think
if you play 2/1 game force in this situation, which I'm sure some people do, it's also not crazy to just bid two spades, which is just a cheap bid. You're already in a game force once you bid two clubs. Yep. So being able to bid two spades here, just show a doubled in spade and keep the auction alive would be another good expert choice.
Yep. Anyway, those were the boards. I hope you enjoyed our analysis, and thanks, Mike, for coming in and joining us.
That was fun. Pleasure, Pete.
And hope you all enjoyed playing the Grand National Novice Pairs.
All the best.
All right, bye from us.